On a quiet evening at a Virginia rest stop, two police officers arrested Daniel Carter, a black man on baseless charges, unaware that within 24 hours, he would be the judge presiding over their misconduct hearing, turning a moment of injustice into a powerful reckoning. Daniel Carter, 52, was a respected circuit court judge in Richmond, Virginia, known for his fairness and deep commitment to justice. Born in a working-class neighborhood, he earned a scholarship to Howard University, followed by a law degree from Yale. By 2025, he'd served 15 years on the bench, handling everything from traffic violations to felony cases. Off the bench, Daniel was unassuming, driving a modest sedan, and often traveling alone for work. His calm demeanor masked a sharp intellect and an unwavering resolve to uphold the law, especially when it came to police misconduct. On June 9, 2025, Daniel was driving home from a judicial conference in Norfolk, a 3-hour trip along Interstate 64. Around 8 p.m., he stopped at a rest area near Williamsburg to stretch his legs and grab a coffee. Dressed in a polo shirt and khakis, he carried only his wallet and phone, blending in with other travelers. The rest stop was quiet, with a few truckers and families milling about. Daniel sat at a picnic table, checking emails, when two Virginia State Police officers, Michael Hayes, 38, and Stephen Pratt, 34, approached him. The officers had been patrolling the highway, claiming they were responding to reports of suspicious activity at the rest stop, though no such calls were later verified. Hayes, the senior officer, addressed Daniel first. "Sir, we need to see your ID," he said, his tone clipped. Daniel looked up, surprised but composed. "Can you tell me why?" he asked politely. Pratt stepped closer, hand on his holster. "We're checking out a report. Just show us your ID." Daniel, aware of the tension, reached slowly for his wallet, explaining he was a judge returning from a conference. Hayes cut him off. "Doesn't matter who you are. ID now." Daniel handed over his driver's license, but the officers weren't satisfied. Pratt scanned it, then asked, "What are you doing out here? You don't look like you're just passing through." The question, laced with suspicion, stung. Daniel, a black man in a state with a history of racial profiling, recognized the tone. He kept his voice steady. "I'm having coffee, heading home to Richmond. That's all." Hayes smirked. "Sure. Step over to the patrol car. We need to check you out." Daniel complied, though he questioned the basis for the stop. "What's the probable cause?" he asked. Pratt snapped, "You're acting evasive." "That's enough." Within minutes, the officers escalated, claiming Daniel's attitude was obstructing their investigation. They handcuffed him, citing resisting despite his compliance, and placed him in the patrol car. A small crowd of travelers watched, some recording on their phones, but no one intervened. Daniel sat in the back seat, his wrists tight in the cuffs, his mind already turning to the legal implications. At the local precinct, Hayes and Pratt booked Daniel on charges of obstruction and disorderly conduct, fabricating details in their report. They claimed he'd been aggressive and refused to cooperate, ignoring his calm demeanor and judicial ID, which he'd shown them. Daniel, knowing his rights, requested a phone call and contacted his wife, Sandra, a civil rights attorney. Sandra, furious but focused, assured him she'd handle it. Daniel spent the night in a holding cell, released on bail the next morning after Sandra's intervention. He returned home, shaken but determined. Unbeknownst to Hayes and Pratt, their actions had triggered a swift response. One of the rest stop videos, uploaded to social media, went viral overnight, showing Daniel's calm cooperation contrasted with the officers' hostility. Hashtags like #JusticeForDaniel trended, with activists and lawyers calling for accountability. Sandra filed a formal complaint with the Virginia State Police, citing racial profiling and false arrest. The video also reached the Richmond Circuit Court, where Daniel's colleagues were appalled. The court's chief judge, alerted to the incident, scheduled an emergency misconduct hearing for the officers, unaware Daniel would be assigned to preside. On June 10th, Hayes and Pratt, suspended pending investigation, appeared before the Richmond Circuit Court. They entered the courtroom expecting a routine hearing, their union lawyer confident the charges would be dismissed. Their faces fell when they saw Daniel on the bench, robed and composed, his nameplate reading, Honorable Daniel Carter. The bailiff called the case, and Daniel's voice filled the room, steady and authoritative. This is a hearing regarding alleged misconduct by Officers Michael Hayes and Stephen Pratt. Let's proceed. The officer's lawyer stammered, requesting a recusal, citing Daniel's involvement. Daniel addressed the motion calmly. My role is to evaluate the evidence impartially. If you have evidence of bias, present it. Otherwise, we continue. The lawyer, unprepared, backed down. The hearing began with testimony from the state police investigator, who presented the rest stop video, contradicting the officer's report. Sandra, representing Daniel's interests, submitted a statement detailing his false arrest and the lack of probable cause. Hayes and Pratt took the stand, their accounts faltering under Daniel's precise questioning. Officer Hayes, you stated I was aggressive. Define that behavior, Daniel asked. Hayes mumbled about tone, unable to cite specifics. Pratt's claim of suspicious activity crumbled when no dispatch records supported it. Daniel's questions were methodical, exposing inconsistencies without raising his voice. The courtroom, packed with reporters and activists, watched in awe as the judge dismantled the officer's defense. After 3 hours, Daniel delivered his ruling. The evidence shows a clear abuse of authority, motivated by bias, he said. Officers Hayes and Pratt violated protocol, falsified reports, and engaged in conduct unbecoming. I recommend termination and refer this matter for criminal review. The officers sat stunned, their lawyer promising an appeal. Daniel adjourned the hearing, his gavel's echo final. The ruling made national news. Outlets like CNN and The Washington Post covered the story, framing it as a rare moment of accountability. Social media amplified Daniel's poise, with posts calling him a hero judge. The Virginia State Police fired Hayes and Pratt within days, and the county prosecutor opened a perjury investigation. Daniel, meanwhile, resumed his docket, declining interviews to focus on his work. Sandra spoke briefly to the press, emphasizing systemic reform over personal vindication. The rest stop incident became a catalyst. Virginia's governor launched a task force on police reform, citing Daniel's case. Community groups invited him to speak, though he preferred quiet advocacy, meeting with young Black lawyers to share his experience. Hayes and Pratt faded from public view, their careers over. Daniel, ever humble, saw the hearing not as revenge, but as a duty to uphold the law he'd sworn to protect, proving justice could turn the tables in a single day.